Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Have you ever tried to explain something you're truly passionate about, only to watch people's eyes glaze over? You know that sinking feeling when someone nods politely, but you can tell they're already thinking about what's for dinner. Maybe you've launched a product, written a heartfelt post, or pitched an idea that you knew could genuinely help people, and what you got back was crickets. Complete silence. Here's the thing, and this might sting a little. Your idea is probably fine. Your product? Solid. Your passion? Real. The problem is something else entirely. The problem is how you're talking about it. Most of us, when we get excited about something we want to share, basically turn into that person at a party who won't stop talking about their fantasy football team. We're enthusiastic, sure, but we're drowning people in details they never asked for. Company founding dates. Mission statements that sound like they were written by a committee of robots. Technical specifications that would make an engineer yawn. And we genuinely truly believe people care about this stuff. Spoiler alert, they really don't. We're making what might be the biggest communication mistake there is. We're making ourselves the star of the show. Today, we're diving into a book that completely flips that script. It's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And no, this isn't just another marketing playbook filled with buzzwords and tactics that'll be outdated by next Tuesday. This is about something much deeper. It's about how human beings have been wired to receive information for thousands of years. From the stories our ancestors told around flickering fires, to the Netflix series we binge at 2 in the morning when we really should be sleeping. Now, Donald Miller didn't start out as some slick marketing consultant. He was a writer who spent years scratching his head, wondering why some of his books sold like crazy while others gathered dust. He became obsessed with figuring out what makes a story impossible to ignore. What he found was a 7-part formula so fundamental, so baked into the human experience, that when he applied it to his own struggling company, their revenue doubled. Then it doubled again, and one more time for good measure. By the time we're done here, you're going to know this framework inside and out. You'll understand what wildly successful companies like Apple and Starbucks figured out a long time ago. This isn't about being clever or witty. It's about learning to speak a language that every human brain already understands perfectly. It's about making your customer the hero of an epic story and becoming the wise mentor they desperately need. Let's start with something you've probably noticed but never really thought about. The world is absurdly noisy. Researchers say we're hit with thousands of advertising messages every single day. They're on our phones, on buses, in our email, popping up while we're trying to watch a cooking video. It's relentless. Now here's what your brain is doing behind the scenes. Its main job isn't to help you appreciate poetry or solve complex equations. From an evolutionary standpoint, your brain has one obsessive goal: keep you alive. And a huge part of that involves being incredibly lazy. Processing new information actually burns calories, and your brain would really rather not. It's a survival thing. Your brain is constantly filtering, asking, does this help me find food, stay safe, build relationships, find a mate? If the answer is no, it gets tossed in the mental garbage bin. So when a business starts rambling about being founded in 1982 or having the biggest warehouse in the Midwest, your customer's brain does something remarkable. It just checks out. None of that information helps them survive. It's just more noise in an already deafening world. This is where most businesses shoot themselves in the foot. They're not talking about things that actually matter to people's lives. Even worse, they're making people work way too hard just to figure out what they're even offering. Donald Miller puts it perfectly: if you confuse, you'll lose. So how do you cut through all that noise? How do you create a message so clear and compelling that people can't help but pay attention? The answer is something humans have been using forever: story. Think about it. You can sit through an hour-long presentation and forget almost everything by the time you're looking for your car keys. But you can watch a good movie once and remember specific scenes, lines, even the background music for years. That's because stories are the way our brains naturally organize information. We don't have to work at it. When we're caught up in a good story, It practically dreams itself for us. Living in Nashville, Miller learned something interesting about the difference between music and noise. They're both just sound waves hitting your eardrums, but music follows certain patterns. A Beatles song sticks in your head for decades. The sound of construction outside your window? You can't wait for it to stop. Story is the music version of communication. It takes random information and arranges it into something beautiful and memorable. So what does this musical arrangement look like? After studying countless stories, from ancient myths to modern blockbusters, Miller broke it down into 7 universal plot points. This is the StoryBrand 7-part framework. Once you see it, you'll start recognizing it everywhere. Here's every story you've ever loved, in a nutshell. A character wants something but faces a problem getting it. Just when things seem hopeless, a guide shows up, gives them a plan, and calls them to action. That action helps them avoid failure and leads to success. That's it. Let's think about Star Wars. Luke, a bored farm kid, wants adventure. But then, the Empire kills his family, and suddenly he's in way over his head. That's when Obi-Wan Kenobi appears, this wise old guy who gives Luke a lightsaber and teaches him about the Force. He calls Luke to rescue the princess and fight the Empire. If they fail, the rebellion dies. Instead, Luke blows up the Death Star and saves the day. This framework isn't just for movies. It's literally how the human brain processes information about challenges and solutions. And if we want our business to grow, we need to position what we offer along this well-worn path in people's minds. The most important shift, the one that changes everything, is this. The customer is the hero, not your brand. This is where almost everyone screws it up. We naturally think our company is the hero. We're strong, capable, experienced. But think about heroes in actual stories. Luke Skywalker is whiny. Katniss Everdeen is terrified. Heroes start out weak, full of doubt, completely unprepared for what's ahead. They don't need another hero showing up to flex. They need a guide. Your brand is the guide. You're Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're Haymitch. You're the seasoned, capable character who's been through the fire and can help the hero win. When we position ourselves this way, we become a trusted resource instead of another voice competing for attention. Let's walk through this framework step by step like we're building a story for your customer. Step 1. A character. Every story starts with a hero who wants something. Before we know what they want, we don't really care about them. Movies have to establish this in the first few minutes, or audiences start checking their phones. Will they win the championship? Get the guy? Disarm the bomb? As a brand, you need to define what your customer wants. The moment you do, you create what's called a story gap. The customer's brain automatically wonders, can this brand actually help me get that? And boom, they're engaged. A fancy resort isn't selling rooms. They're selling the luxury and rest you've been craving. A financial advisor isn't selling mutual funds. They're selling a secure retirement. A university isn't selling credits. They're selling a degree you can earn without quitting your job. But here's the catch. What they want has to connect to survival. Not literal survival, like avoiding tigers, but modern survival. We all have these primal desires to be safe, healthy, happy, and strong. This shows up in specific ways. Saving money, like Walmart's Save Money, Live Better. Saving time, like a meal delivery service that gives you back your evenings. Finding community, connecting with people who get you. Gaining status, feeling respected and admired, like owning a Mercedes or Rolex. Making more money, building resources. Being generous, helping others and being part of something bigger. Finding meaning, championing a cause that matters. Your brand needs to define one clear, simple desire that ties into these deep instincts. Do that, and you've opened a story gap. Your customer is hooked. Step 2. Has a problem. Now we know what the hero wants. Time to introduce conflict. Stories without conflict are boring. The more you talk about the problems your customers face, the more interested they'll be in your brand. Every great story needs a villain. The villain gives the conflict a face. For your brand, the villain doesn't have to be a person. It could be distractions ruining productivity. It could be those annoying dust bunnies gathering under the couch. Your villain should be the root cause, relatable, singular, and real. But the villain creates 3 layers of problems, and this is where it gets really interesting. First, there's the external problem. This is the obvious, tangible issue. For a plumber, it's a leaky pipe. For a restaurant, it's hunger. Most companies stop here. They only talk about fixing the obvious problem. But that's not really why people buy. That brings us to the internal problem. This is how the external problem makes the hero feel. That leaky pipe isn't just annoying. It's the frustration of not knowing how to fix it. The fear of water damage ruining your floor. The nagging feeling that you should be capable of handling this yourself. Here's the second big principle. Companies sell solutions to external problems, but customers buy solutions to internal problems. Think about Apple. When Steve Jobs came back, he understood that people didn't just need computers. The internal problem was that technology made them feel stupid and intimidated. Remember those "I'm a Mac, I'm a PC" commercials? They weren't about processor speeds. They were about resolving that feeling of being overwhelmed. Apple positioned itself as simple, creative, fun. They sold relief from frustration, and people became devoted fans. Or consider CarMax. Sure, you need a used car. But what's the real problem? It's dreading the experience of walking onto a sketchy car lot. It's the fear of being lied to by some slick salesman. CarMax built their entire business around solving that internal problem. No haggling, rigorous inspections. They barely even advertise the cars. They advertise the feeling of trust. Finally, there's the philosophical problem. This connects to something bigger. It's about right versus wrong, justice versus injustice. In Star Wars, it's good versus evil. For your brand, it's the bigger why. It's framed in terms of what should or shouldn't be. For Tesla, the external problem is needing a car. The internal problem is wanting cool, cutting-edge technology. And the philosophical problem is that your choice of vehicle should help save the planet. A great brand promises to resolve all 3 layers. When you do that, you're not just selling a product. You're offering a complete resolution to your customer's story. Step 3, and meets a guide. The hero is facing a problem they can't handle alone. This is where you step in. And remember, you're not the hero. You're the guide. This is principle number 3. Customers aren't looking for another hero. They're looking for a guide. So what does a hero need in a guide? 2 things: empathy and authority. First, empathy. The guide has to get it. They have to understand the hero's pain. When Bill Clinton said, "I feel your pain," he was positioning himself as an empathetic guide. Your marketing needs phrases like, "We understand how frustrating it is when," or "nobody should have to deal with." When you empathize with your customers' struggles, you build trust. People trust those who understand them. Second, authority. The hero needs to know you're competent. You've been there, done that. But here's the trick. You can't brag about it. Bragging makes you sound like you're trying to be the hero. Instead, demonstrate authority subtly. 4 easy ways. Testimonials. Let other people praise you. A few powerful quotes are all you need. Statistics. How many customers have you helped? How much money have you saved them? Awards. Small logos of any recognition you've received build confidence. Logos of other companies. If you work with recognizable brands, showing their logos provides social proof. When you combine genuine empathy with quiet competence, you become the perfect guide your customer has been searching for. Step 4. Who gives them a plan? The hero trusts you now, but they're still hesitant. Buying something feels risky. It's like standing at the edge of a creek with rapids downstream. They want to cross, but they're afraid of falling in. To help them cross, you need to place stepping stones. This is Principle 4. Customers trust a guide who has a plan. The plan removes risk and clarifies the next steps. There are two types. First, the process plan. This is a simple 3 or 4-step explanation of how to work with you. For a financial planner, it might be: schedule a free consultation. We create a customized plan. We execute it together and secure your future. Even if these steps seem obvious to you, they're not to your customer. Spelling them out reduces confusion and makes action more likely. Second, the agreement plan. This addresses fears directly. It's a list of promises you make. CarMax does this brilliantly. Their agreements include: you'll never haggle, and every car passes inspection. This directly counters customer fears about buying used cars. Giving your plan a name, like the Easy Installation Plan or Our Quality Guarantee, increases its perceived value. A clear plan is the bridge from curiosity to commitment. Step 5, and calls them to action. The hero is ready. They trust you. They understand the plan. But here's the thing. In stories, heroes almost never act on their own. They need to be challenged. Newton was right. A body at rest stays at rest. So do customers. This is Principle 5. Customers don't take action unless they're challenged to take action. Too many businesses are timid here. They're afraid of seeming pushy, like some late-night infomercial screaming, "Call now!" But when we don't clearly ask for the sale, we're communicating that we don't really believe in our own product. Your website needs a big, obvious Buy Now button. Top right corner, repeated in the center, the call to action needs to be crystal clear and direct. But what if the customer isn't ready to commit just yet? That's where the transitional call to action comes in. This is like asking for a coffee date instead of proposing marriage. It's lower risk, a way to keep the relationship going. A transitional call to action offers something valuable for free in exchange for an email address, a downloadable guide or PDF, a free webinar or course, a free sample or trial. This is your lead generator. It lets you build an email list of interested potential customers. Once you have their email, you can keep offering value and positioning yourself as the guide until they're ready to buy. Your marketing should have both: a direct call to action and a compelling transitional one. Step 6. That helps them avoid failure. A story only works if something's at stake. If there's nothing to win or lose, nobody cares. Will the hero disarm the bomb, or will the city explode? Will they get the girl, or end up heartbroken and alone? We have to show what's on the line. This is Principle 6. Every human being is trying to avoid a tragic ending. We need to gently warn customers about what happens if they don't work with us. This isn't fear-mongering. It's answering the so what question everyone's subconsciously asking. Research shows that people are 2 to 3 times more motivated to avoid a loss than to achieve a gain. Loss aversion is powerful. What will customers lose if they don't buy? Money? Health? An opportunity? Think of failure like salt in a recipe. You don't need much, just a pinch. But leave it out entirely, and everything tastes flat. We need to define the stakes. Step 7, and ends in a success. Now for the good part. After showing what could go wrong, we paint a vivid picture of what life looks like when it goes right. This is Principle 7. Never assume people understand how your brand can change their lives. Tell them. You need to cast a vision. Where are you taking your customer? Financial security? A beautiful home? A fun weekend with friends? Successful brands are masters at painting a compelling picture of an achievable future. John F. Kennedy didn't promise a competitive space program. He promised to put a man on the moon. Specific, clear, inspiring. Your website, ads, emails should be filled with images and words showing what success looks like. Happy people enjoying your product, a sparkling kitchen, a family on vacation. Stories end in three dominant ways that tap into deep psychological desires. Winning power or status. The hero gains respect and admiration. Your brand can offer this through premium memberships, exclusivity, or luxury identity. Union that makes them whole. Often a love story, but really about finding something external that completes them. Your brand can offer this by reducing anxiety, lightening their workload, giving them more time. Self-realization that makes them whole. The hero accepts themselves and reaches their potential. Your brand can offer this through inspiration, acceptance, or inviting them into a larger movement, like Tom's Shoes one-for-one model. You have to clearly and repeatedly tell customers where you're taking them, because a story has to go somewhere. If you don't tell them the destination, they'll never get in the car. There's one more piece that ties this together. The real reason people engage with stories and brands is the universal human desire to transform. Every hero starts flawed and full of doubt. By the end, through overcoming conflict, they've transformed into someone stronger, wiser, more capable. The most powerful question you can ask: who does my customer want to become? What's their aspirational identity? Gerber Knives doesn't just sell knives. They sell an identity. The idea that you can become the kind of person who's tough, competent, ready for anything. Hello, trouble, their ads say. When you buy their knife, you're buying a piece of that identity. Great brands participate in the identity transformation of their customers. Dave Ramsey doesn't just teach people to get out of debt. He helps them transform from confused and hopeless to competent and in control. His listeners even get to do a debt-free scream on his show, a climactic moment marking their transformation. Think about your customer. When they engage with your brand, who do they become? From confused novice to marketing expert? From passive pet owner to their dog's hero? From anxious to carefree and confident? When you define that aspirational identity and invite customers to step into it, you're not just selling products anymore, you're changing lives. And that's how you build a tribe of passionate brand evangelists. So how do you actually put this into practice? It starts with your website. Your website should be your best salesperson, working around the clock. It needs to pass the grunt test. Could a caveman look at it and immediately grunt what you offer? It needs 5 things. A clear offer above the fold. The first thing people see should tell them exactly what you do or what problem you solve. Obvious calls to action. Big, bright buy now buttons. Images of success. Happy, satisfied customers. A bite-sized breakdown of what you offer. If you have multiple products, make it easy to choose. Very few words. People scan, they don't read. Cut your text in half. Then cut it in half again. Think Morse code, brief, punchy, relevant. This framework can even transform company culture. So many organizations suffer from what Miller calls the narrative void. No unifying story, so departments disconnect and employees disengage. By creating an internal story, where employees are the heroes and leadership is the guide, you can align your entire team around a powerful mission. This framework isn't just a marketing tactic, it's a filter for all communication. It simplifies your message, sets you apart from competitors, and gets your business growing. Because when you stop making noise and start telling a clear, compelling story that positions your customer as the hero, they'll finally listen. As we wrap up this journey through building a story brand, I want to reflect on what makes this idea so powerful. In a complicated, fragmented world, Donald Miller gives us something beautifully simple. The most effective way to connect with another human being is to honor their story. At its core, the StoryBrand framework is a masterclass in empathy. It forces us, as business owners and communicators, to do something simple yet difficult: stop talking about ourselves. It asks us to set aside our ego, our company history, our list of accomplishments, and become genuinely curious about the hopes, fears, and desires of the person we're trying to serve. The most powerful lesson for me is the shift from hero to guide. We all want to be the hero. The hero gets the spotlight, the applause. But in business and in life, true power and influence don't come from playing the hero. They come from playing the guide. The guide empowers others, provides wisdom and tools, celebrates the hero's victory without needing credit. When you truly embrace that role, something magical happens. Your business stops being about transactions and starts being about transformation. So how can you apply this today, right now? Here are a few simple actions. First, for the next 24 hours, just listen. Listen to commercials, look at billboards, pay attention to how people describe what they do. Notice the noise. Notice how many messages are all about me, me, me. Then see if you can spot a StoryBrand message, one that makes you the hero. It'll stand out like a lighthouse in a storm. Second, take 15 minutes and write a one-liner for something you're working on, a business, a project, even just for yourself. Use the 4 parts: the character, the problem, the plan, the success. You'll be amazed at how this forces clarity. Third, think about your favorite brand. It could be a coffee shop, a clothing company, a tech giant. Ask yourself, why do I love them? I bet it's because they make you feel like a better version of yourself. They've invited you into a story, and you've gladly accepted the starring role. That was our deep dive into Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand. We've covered the core principles, but I'll be honest with you. A summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. You can see the major cities and rivers, but you can't feel the sun or taste the local food. The real magic happens when you read the book yourself. It's in those quiet moments when a particular story or simple phrase hits you in an unexpected way. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time. If anything we talked about today resonated with you, I really encourage you to grab a copy. It's more than learning marketing. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see communication and your role in other people's lives. The link is in the description below. If you found this valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe. That way you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.